G'day guys and welcome back to your FPL English Aussie. Today we're going to run through a wildcard draft for all of you guys calling for it, and think about what players we'd pick for game week 12, and also how to make the most out of your team value during a wildcard week. So we're going to kick off by jumping straight into it, looking at the team and sort of talking through the players as we go. We'll do a sort of live draft. I've had a little bit of a think about it, and I just want to run you guys through my thoughts as well as we go through the team. Perhaps we'll do one or two drafts just to get an idea of what we want to do. So starting off, I think you obviously want to look at who you think your captains are going to be over the next few game weeks and plan your team around captaincy. Captaincy is the most important thing in FPL, and you want to make sure that you know who you think the key captains are over the upcoming game weeks, and who you want to pick in your team based on that. So, on that regard, I have put together a little captaincy sort of slide just to show who I think the key captaincy choices are over the next few game weeks. Um, Depending on your strategy and your structure, this is going to obviously help you make the decision. So I think at the moment in FPL, the sort of best structure it looks like is the threemium in midfield with Salah, Palmer, and Saka. And the reason for that is just because they're great captaincy options over the next few weeks. Whereas Haaland has Tottenham, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest. And then, yes, Crystal Palace maybe is a nice fixture. Man United's probably not as nice as I've got that. Maybe that could be a grey. Similar for Aston Villa, depending on if they get themselves together defensively. So really, like you could look to go without Haaland until game week 17, given the fact that you've got Salah and Palmer rotate really nicely captaincies between them over that period of time. And in game week 13, when obviously Liverpool play Man City, Bukayo Saka has West Ham for Arsenal, who have been very poor defensively in transition, as we've talked about on previous episodes. I do think now that Man City game for Salah is looking a little bit better, but it just depends on the sort of fixtures as they come back over the international break. But for Haaland, I think Liverpool's going to be a tough fixture for them. So I think my draft is going to be based on the fact that those are the three premiums that I'm looking to captain over the next few game weeks. Obviously, the green and yellow is sort of my best options, and then green is sort of like a nice-ish fixture. Grey, a little bit more difficult. Orange, much harder. So we'll start with dropping in the guys that I think are key players. So I think Palmer is key, and Salah is definitely key. Obviously, we can have a discussion a little bit around in that game week 13. Maybe you don't need to come into Bukayo Saka. Maybe you'd like to, depending if you're planning on captaining Salah, and also if Saka is still injured after the international break. I think he'll be okay, at least by game week 13. But we'll obviously wait and see. So for now, we'll just look at the team as if Saka's not in there, and we might drop him in a little bit later. After you've identified who your key sort of captaincy guys are, there's a few other things to go for, as like who are the people that you think have great fixture runs and in form going forwards, and you think are going to be your biggest upside and point earners over the next few weeks. So to help you guys out with that, I also put together a little sort of fixture difficulty over the next few game weeks, and you can see here that the good fixture runs, you've got Brighton with a great fixture run between 12 and 17, Chelsea with fantastic fixture runs from 12 to 9, well, really like all the way through for a while. Bournemouth have nice fixture runs over the next, 7-8 game weeks, and Newcastle and Wolves also have some nice fixture runs over the next 6-7 game weeks, as well as Arsenal picking up from 13. So going forwards, and thinking about that, probably the guys that you're also looking at in that front line as good options are already Acuna, maybe a João Pedro or a Welbeck, Wissa, and I think a lot of the forwards are just some really nice price points to go for. Chris Wood's obviously looking good. Nicholas Jackson, even Watkins at Villa does have some decent games over the next few game weeks. He's got Palace, Chelsea, Brentford, Southampton over the next four. So he does have some nice game weeks as well, even though he hasn't quite hit form at the moment. So we've talked about in different videos sort of the four key areas of like tactically it's a good game, statistically they're doing well, they're in good form, and the fixtures are good. And I think on that basis, the probably the main people that we look at are Brighton for me. Have they're well set up, offensively. They've also got some excellent fixtures over the upcoming game weeks. Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, Leicester. I think there could be a lot of goals in those games. Like Brighton, obviously similar. I would say similarly with Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth both play that fast-paced transition football. Southampton obviously trying to play out from the back against Brighton with their super high press. That could cause a lot of problems for them. They already cause problems for Man City, who are very good at that. So yeah, I think Brighton are a team that we really want to look at. And for me, I think the guy that I would want in there is João Pedro. And the reason for that is because I think Hertzler's talked about him being a talisman for the side, and really like a key player in their side going forwards. So I'd be pretty keen to get João Pedro into the team. So I'm going to stick him in there to start with. I don't know if that's like, is that a little bit, can you guys see the full screen there? Yeah, you can. Maybe I'll zoom out just a touch just so you can see the full thing. That'll be better. Yeah, you can see everything in there. Oh, and just a note also, like we're working off a budget of 101.2 mil. That's what I've got in my team. So maybe some of you guys have a little bit more, and you'll be able to afford a few differences. But yeah, that's what we're going with. Alongside that, I also think Cunha, great form, really good fixtures, statistically looking good, as we've seen. And I mean, tactically, I'd say Wolves don't have like great matchups in general. I don't think they're a particularly great offensive side, but they've got great fixtures. If you're going to go for a Wolves player like this sort of fixture run right now, that's sort of key in my opinion to be going into those Wolves players at this time, because they're not going to have a better fixture run than they've got at the moment. And if you're looking at statistically how they're going at the moment, we can see here João Pedro at 0.62 non-penalty goals and assists, and Cunha in there at 0.63. So both statistically doing quite well so far this season as well. So I think both of those guys are good players to be getting in the forward line that you could get some good attacking returns from. Else, like if we then have a look at who some of our other key players are, and then work on fitting in some of the others. So I think like up front, the way we're looking at those top quality strikers and who you're looking at is obviously Nicholas Jackson and Chelsea with great fixtures. Wissa at Brentford, who's just been sensational in the form for Brentford. They're super attacking. He's got incredible footballing IQ. Wissa, he just gets into amazing positions. As I've talked about plenty of times, like even last year with Tony there, Wissa was still getting in positions, scoring goals, last minute equalisers, winners for Brentford. And this season playing up front by himself in that role, he's been sensational when he's been fit. Isak for Newcastle has a really nice fixture run. I think he's definitely someone that you could look at. Watkins has a sort of next 4 games is quite nice. And also Danny Welbeck, and then Chris Wood's obviously been in great form. For me, I think the reason that I would say to be careful around Nicholas Jackson is just double ups for me, you need to be really certain that the players that you're picking for double ups, their team is going to be scoring a ton of goals. Because, for example, if Chelsea, like even this week against Man United, Chelsea scored 1 goal, no Jackson, no Palmer. You've got 2 blanks in your team. So that is really something to be considerate about, and that's why I'm sort of thinking I'd rather stay away from having double ups in those offensive areas, just because it spreads the risk across your team a little bit better and enables you to have a little bit more flexibility game week to game week. You might be able to score higher points if your team does blank. Obviously, if Chelsea is scoring 6 goals every week, it's a different story. So for me, I think in that third forward spot, I'd be looking at between Isak and Wissa, and just it's really over the next few. For me, I'm sort of thinking over the next few game weeks, who has the best fixtures and who do I think is going to score the most goals. Brentford have Everton, Leicester, Villa, Newcastle. Then it gets a little bit tougher for them with Chelsea, Forest, Brighton, Arsenal. And Newcastle have West Ham, Crystal Palace, Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich over the next 6. I think it's sort of a nice little fixture run. And therefore, for now, I'm going to go with Isak. And if we do need to maybe look at potentially downgrading that for a price purposes, we can look to go to Wissa in the future. In the midfield, I think since we haven't gone for Wissa, I think Mbumo's been really great on penalties at quite a nice price point for Brentford at the moment. I think let's keep him in the side for now and see how we go. Also, since we don't have Wissa, I think Mbumo is good as we avoid that double up. Outside of that, in the midfield, we've already got Brighton for good fixture up front. We've got Chelsea in the midfield. We've got Newcastle up front. We've got Wolves up front. I think given Arsenal's good fixture run, we'll probably end up having Saka in one of those spots. So I think one of our other midfielders will also have to be sort of at a good price point. The one fixture swing that we haven't sort of incorporated anyone in there for at the moment is Bournemouth. They have Brighton, Wolves, Tottenham, Ipswich, West Ham, United, Palace, Fulham, Everton over the next few game weeks. And I think a guy who's been in great form from them all season is Antoine Semenyo. So I'm going to put Semenyo in there for now, and then we're going to move down to sort of the back line. Maybe let's stick Saka in there for now. We'll see what it comes out as, and then we might have to think of a way of cutting some costs in the future. So in goal at the moment, I think Fabianski's must have. He's the only 4 million goalkeeper that's playing. What I can maybe show you guys is potentially one of the other websites actually that I use to check what are the good sort of fixtures that compensate each other, and that website is Plan FPL. It's a completely free website. You can go in, you can look at sort of what are the best fixture rotations for some of the teams. So I've got it up on screen now. Perhaps I'll just scroll up so you guys can see. So up here you can see including the bid 6, what are the best fixture rotations. So this sort of really helps with defensively, and you can see that you got Brighton and Man City have really nice rotation, Liverpool and Leicester, Arsenal and Ipswich, Southampton, Wolves, Arsenal, Leicester. And excluding the big 6, you actually have West Ham and Everton with really nice fixture rotations, and that leads me into my sort of goalkeeping decisions and why on this wild card I think the best goalkeeper pairing is actually to have Pickford. And you see here when you look at the fixtures that Fabianski over the next few weeks, Newcastle, Arsenal, and then Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. And then you can see Pickford over the next couple of weeks as Brentford, Man United, Wolves, and then over that week where Fabianski has a great game weeks, he's got Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City. So it kind of works out really nicely that 15 to 18 Pickford has poor game weeks, and over that 15 to 18 Fabianski has great game weeks, and then he plays Liverpool, Man City. You can switch back into Pickford. So I think those two goalies rotate really nicely together, and I'm gonna stick with those guys going forwards there. At the back, defensively, I think Arsenal have got some like a good fixture run defensively coming up. And if I show you again that sort of fixture difficulty planner, I have one defensively as well that's slightly different to the offensive one. You can see Arsenal's fixture run really nice. Brighton, Wolves, Man City, probably the key call-outs over the next 6 to 8 game weeks. So what we will do at the back is we'll stick with Gabriel for now. Other defenders that I think I'm really interested in are probably based off sort of statistically who the defenders are, as well as the fixture runs. Statistically, who the best defensive defenders are. So I think Aït-Nouri is almost a lock for me in this team. Good price point, great stats, great fixtures, incredibly tactical for his tactically positioning wise. He's playing as basically a winger. So fixtures, form, tactics, stats, all a tick for Aït-Nouri for me. And the other guy that I'm interested in is Luca Dean. So I know Villa have not been particularly great defensively, but their fixture run over the next few weeks is Palace, Chelsea, Brentford, Southampton, Nottingham Forest, which I think is quite nice. And then even after City, Newcastle, they got Brighton, Leicester, Everton. Like their fixture run over the next sort of 12 to 13 weeks is actually quite nice. And Luca Dean is actually right at the top. Sorry, I'm showing you guys the wrong screen at the moment. Get the player analysis screen up. Just sorry. So the forwards. Yeah, so Luca Dean is actually right at the top here of the non-penalty expected goals and assists for defenders, 0.31. He's on corners and set pieces for Aston Villa, and I think he's also been getting really high up that wing. And Aston Villa are sort of needing a bit of help to score some goals at the moment. So I think Luca Dean's a really nice option to get in the team there, along with Aït-Nouri at the back. And then two other slots currently in the defence that we have available to work with. And I think you've got a couple of options here. You either look towards sort of one of those like 4.5 million defenders that have a good fixture run over the next few weeks, and the other guys that I'd probably be looking at, maybe 4.5, probably like a Lewis Hall at Newcastle, who's at 4.4 at the moment. They've got West Ham, Palace, Liverpool, Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich over the next few weeks. You've also got Diego Dalot, maybe at like 5.2, a little bit more expensive. He's got Ipswich and Everton, then Arsenal, Forest, Man City, Bournemouth, Wolves. If you skip those Arsenal and Man City games, it's quite a nice fixture run for him. If Amarin comes in and employs him in a fullback position, he could obviously be really dangerous. The only downside for me with Dalot is just we're not sure on how Amarim's going to set up that team. And like who he's going to put in the fullback role. There has been chat. Some of the United fans on my live stream were talking about he might play Garnacho in a wing back role, and then either Dalot or Mazraoui miss out. So I think it's just difficult for me at the moment with the change of manager to go into United players. I think they're almost like a wait and see tactically in the formation that they play in. They could be nice punts, obviously getting on them before everybody else if you do want to go for a punt. But I'm looking for a bit more surety in the defence. I don't really want to be making a lot of defensive transfers. I want to be spending my transfers hitting the captaincy, the premiums, and the offensive players that have higher upsides that I want to go for. And the other option in defence, other than like a attacking fullback, is to go for clean sheets. And really, the only team that have been showing consistent clean sheets are Liverpool. And the guy that I would look at in there is Kanate at 5.3 million. If I did include Kanate, what would that leave us with? How did it leave us with 4.1 million? which kind of works out quite nicely. I think we sort of end up with a defender in there. If we look at plan FPL a little bit, maybe if you include the big six, who rotates nicely. Arsenal and Leicester, Liverpool and Leicester. So probably the guy to go for. 4.2 won't phase. He actually works in my team because I've had him in previously. So maybe we'll show that as a wildcard team. I think that sort of is really nice. He obviously rotates really nicely with both Gabriel and Canate. So if there was perhaps like a Arsenal City or Liverpool City game, like for example, Liverpool have City in 13. Leicester v Brentford, not the nicest fixture, but not the worst. Obviously Arsenal have some great fixtures, so I mean really. Let's have a look at Leicester fixtures. They're not amazing fixtures going forwards really for Leicester. But then I don't know whether any of the 4 million defenders are going to be particularly great going forwards. You just want someone who's going to start and play the 90 minutes. So yeah, guys, I think like this, the Wildfires face pick, you can probably go for whoever you want really in that slot at 4 million defenders. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. You just want someone that plays 90 minutes and like can sit on your bench if you need help. So you're looking at that team, and yeah, you're probably going to be playing 2-3 up front each week. I think that looks really nice. Up front, you're really hitting the fixture runs over the next sort of 6 game weeks. In the midfield, you've got Palmer and Salah and Saka for captaincy options. You've got Mbumo, who's been in great form, and Brentford, obviously, in attacking side. You've got Semenyo, who's got good form, good fixtures, playing in a great position tactically for Bournemouth. And then at the back, you got Aitner and Digne that you're looking for fullbacks with attacking returns. You got Gabriel for Arsenal's good fixture run, and you got Canate just because Liverpool have been the best defensive team at the moment. And then in goal, you got the rotating Fabianski and Pickford that rotate sort of perfectly. So I think that looks like a really, really nice wildcard team. I almost feel like I don't need to look at a second draft. That almost is probably what I'd go for at the moment. Looking at that wildcard, things sort of just fell into place with the budget. Look, if you do need to sort of downgrade a little bit and make some, you don't quite have the budget to go for these sort of guys. Maybe you downgrade a Semenyo to like a Rodgers or a Buonanotte or something like that. Realistically, you're going to be playing sort of 3-4-3, 3-5-2 each week, depending on which forward line you're going to want to bench. And then if you do want to sort of go for the one fodder option, yeah, you can just like have, I don't know, Harry Winks or something, and then strengthen your back line so that maybe you want to play 4 at the back one week or something like that. Perhaps you want to go Canate up to like a Trent or something like that if you can afford that in your team. Yeah, so a few options there, guys. That's probably what I'll go with now for the first wildcard draft. We will later in the international break probably go into it in a bit more detail. We'll be able to know with people like Saka and stuff whether they're fit and they'll be going after the international break, and if there are any other injuries or anything that we can reconsider as well post then. The next thing that I do want to talk about for you guys is if you are on a wildcard draft right now and or in 13. If you are now and you haven't done this already, or if you're wildcarding in 13, which is also quite a nice fixture week to wildcard, make sure that you check out this website, fplstatistics.com. This sort of gives you a good idea of who the players are that might go up in value, like the next day. I think in England it's like 1 to 3 a.m. Where the price changes are, and in Australia that's like midday to 2 p.m. now at the moment. I think with the time, or maybe we've gone back more now. Something around that time. Yeah, so I think like focus on putting the guys in that might potentially increase in price and you might have in your team. Like there might be a potential for some of these guys to go up twice over an international period. You can see like if you are on any of these people at the moment, keep them in your team over the international period because they might go up again. They've already gone up once so far in this international break. You can see changes here one, and you want to look at target. I think if the guys are above 100, then it's sort of relatively likely that they'll increase overnight. If they're below 100, they won't. They generally won't. And normally it's around like 101, 102. You can be maybe probably more like 104. You can be pretty confident they're definitely going to rise. Roughly between like 100 to 101, 102. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like it's not a scientific accuracy on the site, but like it's pretty close. So I think it's a really good website to use. So what I'm just going to run through quickly with you guys, what I would do right now if I just click my wildcard today and looked at these players who I would have in an initial wildcard team, obviously looking to transition to this team by the end of the week. But you want to be making all these transfers right at the end of the week, so you might pick up some double price movement. So, for example, if Aina goes up twice during this week, he'll go up from 4.7 to 4.9, and you didn't want him in your team, like in our team, you actually gain 0.1 by selling him, and then you sell him to a Dean, and you sort of make that money. So at the moment, I'd sort of been covering all of these guys. Aina, Isak, Kanate, Welbeck. They all go straight in then. Aina. Welbeck. Kanate. Isak. Young Mario. And obviously, like, bear in mind who you do. Sorry, who you do think might go up in price twice. Like, for example, I think Ashley Young probably is not going to get double brought in. Maybe you got more chance for an 8 Nuri or a Bednarek. So probably in this situation, like I definitely have 8 Nuri. I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to bring him in on a wild card. And then, yeah, maybe people are trying to bring in a 4 million fodder. Maybe Bednarek is the guy that comes in. So you can obviously like move it around as to who you're going to go for. And then Fabianski, he could easily go up twice. Get him in there. I don't think there are that many goalkeepers that are highly. And you can also type in on this price change predictor like Pickford. Just have a look. Yeah, he's probably not one that's going to be. So who else can you go for here? Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson can be a third striker maybe. He could potentially. Not sure he'd go up for a second rise. João Pedro. I think João Pedro over Evan Nilsson's more likely to go up twice. I think he's definitely somebody that I'm looking at. And then yeah, in the midfield, Mbumo, Salah. They're sort of obvious guys that you think might go up twice in this game week. Who else in the midfield? Jan Willick. Not convinced. Caicedo. Not convinced. Saka. Yeah, you can have a look at, like, with these guys, like there's not too many that are looking like they're gonna double price rise. So it's almost like you get the guys in that you're planning to get in your team anyway, so you don't miss out on a single price rise for those guys. So you need to sort of balance it. So if you're seeing some of these guys that you want in your team, like a Palmer, a Semenyo, etc., getting close, I don't think any of these guys are that close at the moment. Semenyo's already gone up one, so potentially missed that boat. Palmer's actually gone down one this week. So yeah, if you're seeing any of those guys get a little bit closer to to that sort of price point, then you want to get them in your team so you don't miss them going up in price. So in our team, Gabriel, Faze, Dina, do any of them, that's who we're missing from this one, do any of them look like they're going to go up in price? Gabriel, no, he's gone down. Faze, no, he's looking like he's going to go down. probably don't want to have him in our team at the moment in case he does go down. Dina, not really. So those guys are not really risky to having left out of what your actual ideal goal wildcard is. Here you've obviously also left out Cunha. If we look at Cunha, he's already gone up one, so you're not in concerned. But obviously, like if you'd have started your wildcard in right at the start of 12, like it would have been ideal if you'd have brought Cunha in right then. So I think this is roughly what we're looking at. If you want to go into players right now on a wildcard, and your wildcard is active, this is what your team should be at the moment. Like transfer all these people in right now, and then keep checking and make sure that none of your actual team, like the Gabriels, Faze, Dina, or Cunha, are getting close to a price rise. If they are, you might need to move off some of those other guys that are not going to get you the double price swing. Yeah, so I think that's what we go for, guys. Like at the moment, this is the team you should be moving into, really, regardless of what your team is. Like everyone should really, on a wild card, be sitting on this team right now. Like unless you went a little bit earlier and you've got some of those guys already that have gone up one. Otherwise, if you're wild carding today, transfer all these players in right now. That would be my advice. Maybe don't transfer João Pedro because I want to bring him in. I don't want his price to go up. Yes, probably safe for Nori. I still want to bring him in as well. So there are a couple of guys that I'd rather you didn't bring in. But yeah, that's what I'd go for. And then this is obviously what our final wildcard team. Final wildcard team that we concluded on is looking like. Thanks a lot, guys. Please, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Obviously, a small channel trying to grow, so every like, every comment, every subscribe really helps grow the channel. If you like my content and the stuff that I'm putting out, then yeah, that will really help, and I'll be able to do a lot more videos for you guys. Thank you so much if you watched to the end of this video. If you do have any questions, stick them in the comments. If you have any team selection issues or transfer thoughts, or any changes that you would make to this, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm happy to respond to all your guys' comments with advice on transfer moves, etc. Have a great international break. Subscribe to make sure that you see all of my content that will be coming out over the next couple of weeks. And enjoy the break. Enjoy a bit of a rest from FPL. And make sure you stay vigilant if you're on a wild card. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching. FPL English Aussie out.